Hello everyone, this is Ashish again, and today we are going to start our session on script debugging and error handling. This is a part of advanced topic, I would say. This comes into the picture once you are familiar with the writing scripts. Basic script like doing some stuff on your computer or maybe on remote computer, and then you may want to have that script look like of a tool, kind of optimizing the way it is working. Then you come across these concepts, like how you can handle errors, how you can have your script much more intelligent and kind of application which can understand known errors or things like that. So this is, I mean, kind of more of developer approach towards scripting, I would say. This is not like, I mean, the prerequisite is not like having a development experience. This is something, if you are working as a as PowerShell scripter, or if you aspire to be a PowerShell scripter, even if you are your primary role would be administration, maybe a DevOps engineer, or maybe a cloud engineer or something, but still I mean, you should be able to grasp these topics, and you should be able to work on these things. This will improve your scripting skills, as well as your actually already developed script. So let's start it. Before starting, I would like to have 2 minutes of your time to actually have an update on our collaboration with one of our team actually. Let me just go back to our. Okay, so this is Azure Talk group. We have recently collaborated, and this is a Azure community group where you can post your queries. You can start talking to people. It is extensively 1500 plus members over there who actively answers your question, and all the starting from beginner to the expert level. They are people who are working for maybe more than 10 years or 15 years in the 13 years in cloud infrastructure, either private cloud or maybe public cloud like Azure. So yeah, I would request you to join this, and we are recently collaborated. So my group link will also appear here in some time, and we will also have some talks published over here. Apart from my YouTube channel, you can go here and check out a few DevOps concept or PowerShell sessions over here. This is, for the time being, it is mostly Azure. So yeah, I would just request you, if you are interested to learn Azure, go for it. There are very interesting people, very knowledgeable people who can help you out to begin with, and they can help you even in implementing some solution if you are already stuck there something. Okay, so let's start it. Let's start the session. Okay, so let me just go back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so first of all, the first thing which comes into the PowerShell error handling is breakpoint. Breakpoint is something, if you come from a development background, you might be familiar with this, but if you are from administrator, there is no problem. It is not a very big concept or very complex thing. It is just a basic thing. As you can see, breakpoint, it's a point where you want to break your script. So let's go back to ISE, and let's see how it works actually. So let me load up a script. Okay, I have a hello world over here. It is a very simple script over here. It is a function. Okay, I mean, when you call this function, you get all these things, right? So let me have this function in my shell memory to run it. Okay, I run it, and then if I want to call this function, I can, there is a script and there is a function as well. So if I will call it, and then there are parameter, first name is like just this last name. Okay, so if I enter, you see that there are 3 lines who has been written, and I'm getting all these 3 lines over here, one after another, right? So suppose you know this is a very basic script, but in real time you won't have 10 lines of script or 9 lines of script which will do these basic things. You might have 100 lines of script, or maybe more than that, maybe 1500, or maybe 200, or maybe 300. I mean more than 100 lines of script. And then if you are getting some error and you think that there might be issue with the line number 7, right? You just want, you just figure it out that there might be some issue. I just want to, break this point, that I just want to stop here when I'm running the script. And then, I just want to, after stopping it here, till here it should run, and then it will stop, and then I should have the control to run it further, so that I can see where my script is, breaking, or maybe, getting the error actually. So let's do one thing. Let's so where you want to put your break, you call it breakpoint. So here this is the line number 7. So if I want to set a breakpoint, I can say set ps, let's see, set ps breakpoint, and then I will have to say script, the script where I want to have that breakpoint. Let me just go over here and have that path, and this way dash, there are so many script, hello world. Okay, this is the one. Okay, I am putting the breakpoint over here, and I will have to say either, I can put breakpoint on line, on or variable. So I will put breakpoint on line, so line number 7. So just see the change over here in this script. If I enter, you see this has been highlighted, it has been highlighted already. This is a breakpoint actually. In the output as well, you have a ID 0, ID 1 actually, and it has line number 7, and it is a breakpoint. Now let's run this script again, to have the updated definition in our session cache. Okay, so I have this script. Now if I will just go there, hello world, then provide the first name, again the same thing I will provide, Sheesh, then last name I'll provide Raj, and then if I enter, just see that you have a debug mode, right? You have entered into debug mode, right? Just after the lines, just when you hit the line number 7, line number 6 is right host, hello first name last name, and which is already there. But just after that, you hit the breakpoint, and it is not printing anything over here, right? You are in debug mode, and if you want to continue, just like in any other programming language, you have the option to continue. F10 will be the continue button. So if you will click on F10, I just entering. Okay, so I am on the next line. You are logging from CYG, so this is the line which is the breakpoint. So it ran, and then it is still in the debug mode, so I have not got any error. Then if I want to still continue, then I will click on F10, then it will run the next line. We will meet someday. We are still not hitting any error. And then if I will continue F10, there is nothing after that, so it just get out of the debug mode. So this is this is a demonstration how you can actually go line by line after a particular line. If you suspect that this particular after this line your script is breaking, your script is causing some issue, something fishy there, something you want to know where exactly the issue is happening. So this is the way you can work it out. So this is PS breakpoint. So just like set PS breakpoint, we have multiple options for just like you can figure it out. There is a set PS breakpoint, then there will be a get ps breakpoint as well. So let's do one thing. Get command, okay, name, I will say just give me everything including breakpoint. I want everything including breakpoint. Yeah, so I have disabled ps breakpoint, I have enabled ps breakpoint, I have get ps breakpoint, I have removed ps breakpoint, I have set ps breakpoint. I mean, these are all self-explanatory. We have already used set ps breakpoint to set a breakpoint on a line. Let's do one thing. Let's all the get, you know, all the breakpoint so far. Get ps breakpoint, and it will give, I mean, as I have only set one breakpoint, so it is giving me that. I want to remove that breakpoint. I can do so by just get ps breakpoint and then pipe it together with remove ps breakpoint. As you can see, this will be a output. Its output will be input for this one, and this will remove the breakpoint. I will just remove it and see the highlight has been gone. No, it's not there, right? So I mean, this is how you can set the breakpoint. You can debug it line by line. You can figure it out where your script is failing, and then maybe you can, you know, you can try to see what other things you want to do once you figure it out that which particular line is causing issues for you, right? So this is the let's go back to our PowerPoint slide and let's see what are the next topic we have. So we have already discussed removing breakpoint. Error handling. So error handling, now we have figured out how to get the, you know, how to reach the error, you know, using breakpoint. Now we have the we have to figure it out a way to actually capture it, or maybe to actually you know, to actually stop there, or maybe continue there, or maybe remove that particular error. I mean, once you figure it out that this is the line which might cause error, you want to work, I mean, you want to work out there how you can, you know, avoid getting error. So there are three things you can do. One is try catch block. So try catch block is just like I will say, let's go back to my folder. I have a try catch block example over here. Let me open it. Okay, so try catch block is let's see, instead of this one, Control J, the best thing you have snippet. Try catch finally. This is a snippet. I am entering that. Okay, so there is a try block, there is a catch block, there is another catch block, and then there is a finally. So let's discuss this one. Try means where, I mean, you put line of code, you know, within these all these blocks actually. Now what is the use of these blocks? I will explain that. Once you figure it out that these number of lines, or this line might cause a certain kind of error, you know, it might be you know, a divided by 0 exception, right? You might be dividing by 0, then it might cause exception divided by 0. It might be something else. It might be a web exception. It might be a null object exception. It might be something. I mean, you expect that this particular error, I mean, this particular line might have some error. It might be possible that you know the type of error. It might not be possible that you know the error, but you know that these lines are, you know, I would say suspected, I would say, right? So you will put all those lines in the try block. Okay, each try block will have a catch block. You know, it can have multiple catch block. It can have one catch block as well. So, you know, in catch block, you can either mention the type of exception this particular catch block is going to handle. So what I mean by that, if, you know, in this try block, if you will divide by 0, then only this catch block will be executed, right? Because I have told that particular catch block that this is a divide by 0 exception catch block. If it is not 1 divided by 0, if it is something else, it can be anything, then this catch block is not, applicable. Even though I have written it, it will not go inside it. It's kind of if-else condition. If you can, you can just relate it in a layman term, like that. So if try has this type of exception, go inside it and write this. If try has this type of exception, or this is a web exception, or this is a system.exception. So system.exception namespace, this is .NET language, I would say. I mean, it is something to go inside this system.exception. You will have to little bit understand the .NET framework, but for the time being, we will just focus on that. This is a generic exception. This is a particular type of exception. This is a particular type of exception, right? So if either this one or this one happens, then it gets into this type of exception, and then you can have another catch exception as well for any other type of exception if you know that this might happen. So this is how try and catch works. And then you have the finally block. So finally block is when you have a try block, it will go through the codes. If there is exception, it will go into the respective catch, okay? But if it does not have any exception, then what it will do, it will run all the code, then it will go to the finally block, and then it will run the code inside finally block, okay? Now, if you caught exception, if you get an exception like, divide by 0, suppose you are dividing 1 by 0, okay? So if you are dividing 1 by 0 and, it got the exception, then what happens? It goes inside this, it will run the exception, whatever you have written over here, whatever the things you have done, then it will not do anything, but it will definitely run the finally block, associated with that try block. So finally block, as the name suggests, it will definitely run. It will it is kind of no matter whether you are getting an exception or not getting an exception, whatever you will run in the final block, it will run. That is the what it means. Now, why we have a finally block? Now, let me explain this one. That suppose you are doing, instead of one line, there are, lot of lines. I would say 5, 10, 15 lines, right? I mean, it is not recommended to have 15 lines in your try block. But suppose you have 3 lines or maybe 4 lines where you are first, let's do one thing. Let's just do, comment over here. You are connecting to database. DB, then you are kind of constructing a query, and then you are running the query against DB. Actually, you are connecting to DB, constructing a query, then opening DB, opening DB connection, and then you are running the query against DB and then closing the connection. Okay, so this is these kind of script, these kind of lines you have. So I'm just commenting because I would not go into the connecting to a database, but this is something you might be doing. Okay, instead of DB, you might have a connection with Active Directory. You might have a connection with Exchange. You might have a connection with Azure. So there are you can think of if you write a script, you might think of there are things you do before actually doing your work. Before running any deployment against Azure Resource Management portal, you will first connect to that portal. you will first select the subscription, you will first create a resource group, and then you will start the deployment. So there are 3-4 things before actual thing you want to do. So suppose you are doing these things before actually running the query. Okay, now suppose the running query code has issues. I mean, it has error. It has, I mean, you figure it out using PS breakpoint that this is the place where might be some issue because you have constructed a wrong query, or maybe the database is not available, maybe something else. So you have already connected to database, you have already created a query into a variable, you have already opened the opened the connection. Okay, you have already opened the connection, then you got the error over here. Then what happens? This try block, okay, will go to this catch block. Maybe suppose this is, I mean, this is not available. You're just giving a kind of a system exception, right? I mean, a basic system, there is a exception. Okay, you don't worry about whether it is a DB exception, whether it is a null error exception, or whatever. So it will hit the catch block and it will do its work written inside the catch block, maybe writing in the log file, or maybe sending an email, or maybe anything, right? Now what happens? It goes to the finally block. Now suppose you don't have this finally block, then what happens? If you don't have the finally blocks, it goes to the catch and then do its work. But as you know that you have already connected to database, you have already created a query, you have already opened the connection. These all things are already in the session of your terminal, and it might be it might be possible that these particular things are actually having a, it might be utilizing a significant resource on your computer. It might be restricting someone to connect to the database because you have already opened a connection, but you are just stuck there because you are getting an error, and you just close that. You just start working on figuring out why this error is coming, but at the same time the connection is on hold from your side, and the other person, or maybe there are issues because of that connection. It might be a deadlock, it might be, I mean, you can imagine anything, right? So that is why you have finally block. So what you will do after getting the exception, you will write the cleaning stuff. What does it mean by cleaning stuff? Cleaning stuff means if you have opened a DB connection, you will first close that DB connection. If you have any unused variable like connection string, connecting DB is kind of connection string to DB. Actually connecting to DB is kind of confusing. So connection string to DB is a variable you already hold up there. So you just clean it up, delete it, or maybe remove it from the memory. You remove the query string, you remove, you close the database connection because you know that you got the error on the query running the query line, but you have already opened the connection. It will only close the connection after running this particular line. So you have to close this connection anyway. So you will close this connection over here in the finally block. So this is something we call cleaning stuff in programming language, or in scripting in scripting world. That once you write a script, or once you write an application, there are certain things you define to be used, global variables or things like that, to be used in your program or in your script. And then if there is something holding it up there, then you must have a provision to clean it up. So in .NET, if you come from a .NET background, then CLR, something common language runtime, already takes care of those things. But still, if you are exclusively opening a connection with DB, maybe opening a file, or maybe writing on a file, then these things you have to take care yourself, instead of letting the Windows operating system and CLR to take care of that. So I mean, these are the things you get help from finally block. So yeah, so I hope it is making clear. we have an example over here. More or less it does the same. If you see that I have a test variable which says that this is a test, okay, then I say write host statement before the error, okay, then I have a file read line. I want to read a file which should be here, okay, c does not exist dot text. Now definitely it is not existing. Let me go there. Okay, so as you see there is no does folder, right? So if I will run this file, it will give me error. Let's see what is the output. Okay, so let's see. Okay, statement before error. Okay, we are not getting any red alert, right? Because we are handling the exception. And then I'm getting an exception has got. Which exception? It is a IO exception. An exception has got. Then I'm getting the exception type over here in the write host itself. It is a directory not found exception because directory is not there. And then it does not go into the some other error was caught because this is another catch. It is generic catch. This is system.io exception catch. I mean, if the directory is not found, if the file is not found, then it will go inside it. And then we are running the finally block. Then I am getting the test variable is value. The test variable is the finally block was executed. Instead of the test variable value, this is test. I'm getting this because finally has changed that test variable value. You might want to clean it up. You might want to, set it to null. You might want to anything. But this is how the execution is working. Now let's do one thing. I mean, instead of not having a file, let's create a file. Okay. C drive. I will do C folder does. Okay. Then there should be a folder of not, right? There should be a folder of not. And new folder not, and then there will be a file exist. So let's go over there, exist dot text. Okay, and I will just print it over here. Hello, and just save. Okay, now let's go back to my PowerShell and let's run it again. Just here. Now this is not going into the state. Okay, statement before error, we are not getting any error. We are getting hello because I read line. Okay, read line. Statement after the error, the finally block is so a statement after the error. It completed its cycle. It did not go into any exception. Okay, and the finally block was executed. So finally block still executing and updating the test variable value, right? So this is try catch. And then let's go back to our PowerPoint and we have finally block as we have explained. Then we have error and last exit code. So let's just quickly go through the error and last exit code. We have already explained the try catch block and then error and then last exit code. So error is like, let's go to error is a system error is a system variable, I mean environment variable, which we have already talked upon in our initial sessions. There are some environment variables like, let's go back to environment, and you see that there are so many environment variable over here. So one of them is computer name. If I enter here, this is so, and then we have error. If I enter error, I will get this. Okay, in some point of time I got this error actually. So this is one error. Okay, now error is a this one thing is a get type. It is an array actually. You go ahead, it is an array list. Okay, so what happens whenever your current session gets any error, this error variable gets updated with the latest error in on top of in the last index, I would say. So what happens, this will contains all the errors in the current session. So if earlier it was having only one error, so let's do one thing. Let's run some invalid commands, little bit invalid commands, right? I ran 2 commands, so I should have 3 errors now in the error variable. Let's go back, and as you can see, if I will expand this particular thing, there are 3 things I got after this. You see, first thing I got, then second thing, then the third thing, which was the oldest one. So this is how it works. Error will contain the errors in your current session. So how you are going to use it? You can use this particular thing as a temporary buffer or temporary variable. Whenever you want to check whether any error happened till yet or not, then you can just go ahead and check the $error value, if it contains something or not. If it contains, then definitely there was an error in the current session of the script execution, and then you can proceed accordingly. You can have a logic over there. You can you can do multiple things over there. But I mean, this is how you can use. I mean, you can use your imagination how you can start. I mean, the very basic or simple thing to use is just check the error variable value. If it contains null, then you are fine. Your script till yet have not got any error till yet, either terminated or non-terminating. Terminated will obviously terminate your script execution, but non-terminating error is something which will which might be suppressed in the script, or which might not come on the shell sometime. So in that context, you can check whether there is any error happened or not, and then you can define your script execution in this script. Okay, so this is the $error, and then there is a last exit code. So last exit code is just like exit code in normal. Exit code is something, if you ran some system32 file, then if it runs successfully, then it gives you exit code 0, and then if there is any error, then it will have non-zero value. So this is what it means. Last exit code will give you, there is no exit code till yet because I have not run any .exe. But if you want to check, if you have run something, if you want to check, you can go ahead and check this within the script execution as well. And one more thing I have not covered in PowerPoint. We have one more thing here, that is called $? If I go here, it gives true or false. What does it mean? That true or false means if there was any if it ran successfully or not, the last statement. Like if I will run it, and then if I will check this one, it gives false because last time it gave it error. But if I will run something valid, like let's see, hello world should let's do one thing, get service, simple, get service, and then name, a very simple one, spooler maybe, yeah. So I'm getting the value, and then if I will check this value, $, then it will give me the value last time, whether it was successful or not. So last time it was successful, so it is giving true. If it was not successful, as you can see, last time when it did not it was not able to run the valid script, then it gave the false, right? So this is how you can use these inbuilt options to control your error handling. And this is more or less a very basic I would say understanding of script debugging and error handling in PowerShell. You can be creative as much you want using the error variable, or maybe try catch block, or maybe it all depends on your script and your environment and your condition. What you're for what you're writing this script. But these particular things comes handy when you are actually you're writing a script and when you have to debug it, then these things will help you out to find the exact issue what you are having with the script, and maybe you can handle it as well. So this is it. And then now in the next session I will be covering the WMI and sim classes, and how PowerShell helps you to get use, I mean getting most out of it, and what are the basic concept behind it, I mean these things. And then we will be having PowerShell module development as well. So keep watching, keep sharing, and keep liking. And again, in the end, I would again want to just stress it on that if you want to learn Azure, just go there on Azure Talk, and you know start learning Azure over there. There are very wonderful people helping you out from the beginner level to the expert level. And I mean so many things to come. And I am actually collaborating with them for the DevOps sessions. So just after finishing it up, this particular PowerShell scripting session, we will have DevOps session over this YouTube channel as well. And then those videos will be co-hosted by Azure DevOps group over here as well. So I mean we are kind of community. We help each other. So come join us, help get this thing learning to the expert level of PowerShell, DevOps, Azure. I mean these all things. Yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much. Bye bye.